Hi, I'm Stu from Hive Automation and welcome to the Hive. In this video, we'll be taking a look at this Govee LED strip light M1, and this is the 2-meter version. As always, we'll take a look around the outside of the box. We'll take it out of the box. And in this case, it is a Matter over Wi-Fi device. So we'll take a look at setting it up directly in Home Assistant using Matter and test it out. But if that doesn't work, we'll test out the native app. So while I roll the intro, why don't you take a moment to subscribe and hit that bell icon so you get notified when I release new videos, which is normally each week. While you're at it, if you like what I do here and you want to support the channel, there's affiliate links in the video description to smart home gadgets that you can buy for your own smart home and support the channel at the same time without it costing you any extra, or you can support the channel directly through my Buy Me a Coffee link. Of course, those affiliate links and my Buy Me a Coffee link can all be found on my website, hivemindautomation.com.au. With all of that out of the way, let's get started. So a couple of weeks ago, we picked up this Govee LED strip light M1 from JB Hi-Fi for $103, down from $129. Now we'll be installing it above my partner's desk as a bit of a fill light for better lighting during online meetings and also better lighting on the workspace at the desk as well. We chose this LED strip because it's got some pretty nice features. The LEDs are all individually addressable. The LED density is higher on this strip than others like the Nanoleaf LED strip or the LifeX LED strip. And possibly the best part is that they're Matter compatible, so we know that we should be able to get them into Home Assistant really easily and also into Apple Home to be able to control them with Siri scenes, etc. So on special at $103, these LED strips aren't exactly cheap, but they are individually addressable and they come with Matter support. Now for this strip, the prerequisites should be pretty simple. We're going to need a 2.4 GHz Wi-Fi network to pair the strip to, and for Matter to work, that 2.4 GHz Wi-Fi does need to support IPv6. We're going to need a Matter capable smart home, and whether that's Google Home, Apple Home, so long as it does Matter. And we're going to need somewhere to power the strip from, so a power point nearby is going to be useful. So before we get it out of the box, we'll take a very quick look around the outside of the box as always. On the top, we've got Govee LED strip light M1. It's 2 meters, and there's a pretty representation of the strip there. And it works with Google Home, Amazon Alexa, and Matter. It's rated for 150 lumens and 20,000 hours of lifetime for the LED light. Around the outer edge of the box, we've got Govee LED light strip M1 and some serving suggestions there. What's in the box? We've got one light strip, one control box, one power adapter, one user manual. There's a QR code to download the Govee Home app, the Govee brand and their website for FAQs and product information, 4-in-1 RGB IC Plus technology, twice the brightness with 60 LEDs per meter, enhanced DIY color control, Govee Music Dream View, and a disclaimer that it is not intended for illumination, just for ambience. And there's some FCC compliance that it won't create interference and will accept interference there. On the bottom, we've got some specs. Over on the left, the model number H61E0, the SKU H61E0ED1. It uses 24 volts at 1.5 amps of current for 36 watts of power. Power on is 3.2 watts, the power net is 0.5 watts, and the power in standby is 0.5 watts. And the color rendering index, or CRI, of the LED strip is 80. There's some address details for the manufacturer and some fine print for the use of the Google and Amazon Alexa logos, trademark information, and Govee works diligently to ensure that our products and packaging materials comply with all relevant regulations in the regions we supply. There's some information about Australian consumer law there, and the film needs to go in the bin and the box can go in the recycling. Getting it out of the box now, and there's two plastic pull tabs around the lid seam of the box, and we need to pull and separate them. Then we can lift the top off the box and we find a leaflet saying your journey begins now, with some social media and support links and a QR code on the back to download the Govee app. A round card with Govee LED strip light M1, light up your home and illuminate every corner with Govee lighting, and some suggestions of where we can install the LED strip. On the back are some installation instructions, and underneath all of that we get the strip itself. Pulling the strip out, we see that there's a 4-pin connector on the end for power and data, and it's coiled up and held together with these rather nice Govee branded Velcro strips that you can later reuse to manage the cables. Unrolling the strip, and it's got a clear coating over the top of the LEDs and components, making it water resistant, but it's still quite flexible. I did also notice though that there's no real cut points on this strip, but I did notice solder joints around every half meter or so. There's also another 4-pin connector on the opposite end of the strip, suggesting that it is extendable. Underneath the LED strip inside the box, there's a vacuum-formed plastic holder and then a cardboard divider under that, hiding the power adapter with a 6-foot or 1.8-meter cable and a barrel jack connector on the end. And the power brick is rated at 24 volts at 1500 milliamps. We'll put that aside and pull the control box out, which is inside this soft plastic bag that feels like it might be a biodegradable PLA or something like that. We've got the 4-pin connector with some 3M VHB double stick tape on the back to hold it in place, and that mates up to the LED strip pins. The barrel jack for the power input on the other end, and there's another plastic wrap around the control box, which has 3 large buttons that feel quite good and tactile. And on the back, there's some more double stick tape to stick it to the wall and hold it in place. There's the input rating there again of 24 volts DC at 1.5 amps, and some compliance IDs, a serial number, and some compliance logos. And on the power pigtail, we find a sticker with the Matter pairing code. With all of that aside, back inside the box, there's a plastic bag with some mounting clips that have double stick tape and a screw hole, so you can really get a nice solid attachment to your mount point. They clip over the top of the strip in between the LEDs on the strip, so positioning is going to be important there so that you don't block any of the LEDs. Those mounting clips are in addition to the sticky backing on the LED strip itself, so there's plenty of mounting options included in the box. There's a couple of alcohol wipes in the box as well to clean wherever you're going to mount the LED strip or the control box. And there's a leaflet here for Govee DreamView, which is a protocol to sync your Govee lights to mirror your TV, movies, music, or games and workout using a sync box or camera-based backlight. And there's some details in there of what each sync box can do and a QR code on the back for more info. There's a user manual too with safety instructions, an introduction, what's in the box, pre-installation testing, installation steps, pairing instructions, voice control instructions, troubleshooting steps, customer service contact details, and some fine print. We've got a Matter guide card which has cautions and pairing steps in multiple languages, and a QR code for the Govee control app on the back. And lastly, in the box is a card promoting the Govee community, where you can get inspiration for your lighting setups, find information about advanced features, lighting effects, buy more Govee gear, and earn points to get free Govee products. And connect with other smart home lovers and join special interest clubs. So that's everything that we get in the box, and we'll plug everything into each other. And the tip here for the 4-pin connector for the LED strip is to put the double-sided tape on the same side as the sticky back of the LED strip. I'll plug the power in over here, and it quickly cycles white light through the 4 50-centimeter segments, which presumably is then getting feedback to the controller as to how many segments are connected. Then it will begin cycling through a colorful rainbow animation, and I turned the lights in the room off so you can get more of an idea of how this looks. To the pairing now, and I ended up having a fair bit of trouble getting this light strip paired out of the box, having 4 or 5 failed pairing attempts before I ended up holding the power button down until it started flashing to then reset the controller. I decided to start by trying to pair this light strip directly to Home Assistant. So I opened up the Home Assistant companion app on my iPhone, went over to Settings, Devices and Integrations, tapped Add Integration, selected Add Matter Device, and tapped No, it's new, and then scanned the pairing code on the pigtail to the controller. Home Assistant tried to connect for a couple of minutes and then failed, saying that it was unable to connect to the network and to make sure that the network can reach the accessory and to try adding to the home again. Now, while writing for this part of the video, I realized that Home Assistant Matter over Wi-Fi pairing could be a problem because my Home Assistant Yellow is using a Raspberry Pi Compute Module 4 that doesn't have a Wi-Fi card, so it's only connected over Ethernet. Now, I don't have any VLAN isolation between my Wi-Fi and my Ethernet, so I'm not sure why that would be a problem, but I will investigate in a future video because I will be replacing the Compute Module 4 in my Home Assistant Yellow with one that does have Wi-Fi to see if it fixes these connection issues with Matter over Wi-Fi devices. I ended up giving up on Home Assistant for the moment and moved over and started to use Apple Home to then pair the light strip. Opening Apple Home and tapping Add Accessory, scanning the pairing code, and tapping Add to this home. And this time we got prompted after a couple of minutes to select a room, and this LED strip is going into Ben's office. We were asked to set a name, and I just trimmed it down to say Govee LED Light Strip M1. And as always, I didn't enable any of the light automations because I expect that once I can get these into Home Assistant, I'll automate everything through there. And then I tapped continue and it showed added to the Hive, and I was able to tap view in home. As always, with any Apple Home connected light, we get the dimmer control and the quick color selectors, and then there's a custom color picker as well. Backing out and then drilling into the accessory settings. Again, it's all the same things we normally see. We can change the name, the room that it's in, add to the home view, include in our favorites, group with other HomeKit accessories, which could be useful, those automations that we saw while we were pairing, and add to suggested scenes, like maybe we want to turn it off with the good night scene, whether we want the status included in our home summaries, and then the manufacturer section shows the manufacturer details, the model and the Wi-Fi network, and the firmware version. And because this is a Matter device, there is a turn on pairing mode button, and then we've got remove accessory. Now, for whatever reason, this does not show Govee or show the Govee Home app in the manufacturer section. I did try turning on pairing mode here and then copying the code to then try the guest pairing with Home Assistant, which also failed. So I will again take a look at that with the Wi-Fi module in my Home Assistant Yellow later. So instead, I then closed out of Apple Home and opened up the Govee app to see what features that includes. From the home screen in the Govee app, I tapped the plus icon in the top right-hand corner, and after a few seconds, the LED strip was discovered, and I tapped Add. It asked me to press the on and off button on the device to complete the pairing, and then it asked for a name, which I left alone. I tapped Done, and it warned me that the device is previously connected to a network in Matter. Are you sure you want to use that network? And that changing it could cause a malfunction in Matter. So I just tapped yes on that prompt, and it said Wi-Fi connection successful. We tapped Done and then got prompted that there was a version update, so I tapped Upgrade Now, which kicked off the update telling us to keep our phone within 2 meters of the device. Presumably it's doing that update over Bluetooth. After a couple of minutes, the update was completed and we were on the controls section for the LED strip. Taking a look around inside the native app, in the top right, there is a power button which does exactly as you would expect. Scrolling past some of the other controls, which we'll get back to a bit later, we can see the color picker, and we've got a white balance slider at the top, some quick swatches, and a color wheel. This green button here that kind of looks a little bit like a Polaroid camera takes a snapshot as a quick scene or a color favorite, for example, that we can then recall later if you want. At the top of this section, there's whole light management. And if we tap on that, we then get segment management, and we can select which segments we want to affect. And there's a gradient switch here too. When we select different segments and then scroll down, we can select a color and it changes only the segments that we've selected. And we can then head back to whole light management by tapping the segment management header in this section. Here at the bottom, we've got a save to my colors button to add more quick selections there as well. And scrolling back up a little, we can change to scenes with options like sunrise, which prompts us that the brightness will increase over 15 minutes and mimic the colors of a sunrise, and sunset, which does the opposite. There's tons of predefined scenes in here that I'm not going to go into. If we go across to the music mode, it shows that we've got two options for the sound pickup method, which is either from the device itself or from the mobile phone, and you need to select a setting for it to react. There's a DIY section with lighting effects that have been shared by the Govee community. There's a finger sketch section, which lets us paint different colors on the strip in segments, much like the paint mode on the LifeX Neon Flex that we saw in a previous video. And there's movement effects like clockwise, counterclockwise, cycle, gradient, twinkle, and breathe. The AI section here lets us generate random effects using a chatbot or upload pictures to generate lighting effects. And lastly, in the controls section, we've got more. And from there, we get access to timers and we can set up for repeating or non-repeating timers, as well as a wake up or sleep timer for those sunrise and sunset effects. There's also Workshop, which seems to be a designer for lighting effects. I tapped skip on this and then backed out. I don't want to get too far into the weeds here. We can manage the snapshots that we've taken with that green camera icon I mentioned before. There's also an effects lab with a color gallery, effects lab, gaming lab, and harmony lab. And we've also got autoplay where we can set up a list of effects to automatically cycle through. But the documentation here says that it's only going to play through our list once, and the last effect just remains when the cycle completes. Now, this is similar functionality that we have in the Govee string lights that we reviewed just before Christmas. Scrolling down here, there's group control recommendations like sync all lights when listening to music, which I'm guessing requires a sync box. There's no alarm clock, let the lights wake you up, which is basically a schedule with a sunrise effect, I imagine. How many things can be achieved with one tap, which is presumably to do with scenes. And turn the lights on when the sun goes down, which is essentially just an automation. Scrolling back up to the top next to the brightness slider, there's a timer button, which shows us the same timers that we saw before. And if we tap the cog in the top right hand corner above the power button, we can see some settings that we can change. We can change the name, we can update the layout settings of the control page and change from the default to a custom layout. We've got Wi-Fi settings, which again shows us the warning that we've already set this up using Matter and we can break it if we mess with these settings. There's a refresh length, and when we tap that, it rescans the length of the strip, those 4 50-centimeter segments, to see how many LEDs are connected, which further reinforces that I believe we could possibly get a second one of these and join it to the first strip without needing the additional control box or power brick and potentially have a 4-meter strip. However, I imagine we would possibly get some voltage drop and may not be able to handle the current across that. So we might need a beefier power supply to handle that, but that's a different story. There's a low blue light mode, which lets us manually adjust the blue light ratio of the device for optimal comfort, which is interesting. And there's a user guide section with setup for Amazon Alexa, Google Assistant, Razer Chroma, which is a cool addition that I didn't realize was here looking at the box at all. And there's distributed gateway. The LAN control switch enables a local API, and I'm going to turn that on and you'll see why a little bit later. And then we have the Matter menu here, which lets us see the Matter pairing code and tells us how to use it. And then there's the firmware version, the hardware version, the MAC address, and the product model. And lastly, there's a delete device button. Now, I tried one last time to pair with Home Assistant using Matter with no luck. So at this point, I'd still not managed to get the light strip into Home Assistant, but all was not lost. That LAN control switch that I toggled on earlier lets us use the Govee LAN custom component in Home Assistant to control the lights. Now, I already have the Govee LAN custom component installed in my production instance of Home Assistant here with the Govee string from a previous video hooked in. By going into the Govee Lights integration and hitting configure and then submit, which it turns out I didn't actually need to do because it had already discovered the new LED strip. You can see the Govee Light Strip M1 when we drill into the two devices there. And then we can control the Govee LED strip from Home Assistant with both on and off. And then if we tap the icon, we can drill into the normal lighting controls to change colors, brightness, and color temperature. Now, we don't have access to any of the scenes through here, so it's only going to be basic control, but for our use case in the office, it's perfectly fine. We can at least turn the strip on and off and change the brightness and set up some custom colors if we really want to. So that's the Govee LED strip light M1. The light output is nice and bright and the color temperature range is good, but certainly not as good as the LifeX. The matter over Wi-Fi connection has been a problem in my Home Assistant setup, but I can't be certain that that's the fault of the device itself. As I mentioned, I'm going to be swapping out the Raspberry Pi Compute module in my Home Assistant Yellow in the near future for one that has a wireless card that should then give me Bluetooth and Wi-Fi connectivity back. So I'll be sure to do some testing of the Matter over Wi-Fi connections once I've done that. On the value for money front, I'm not entirely convinced. At $103 on special and $129 for the regular price compared to $89 for the Matter compatible NanoLeaf equivalent, it feels pricey. In fairness, the Govee does have a high LED density at 60 LEDs per meter, so it's going to be brighter. It does have some great features and the brightness and color output are really good. That said, I'm not 100% certain yet if it's worth that $40 premium, especially not when we're comparing a Matter over Wi-Fi controller versus the NanoLeaf's Matter over Thread controller. I might do a head-to-head comparison between the two in a future video though. As always though, let me know your thoughts on the Govee LED strip light M1 in the comments section below. That's all we have for this video, and I do hope that it's helped you in your home automation and smart home journey. Be sure to comment below with a home automation idea you'd like to see me cover in a future video, and don't forget to follow HiveMind Automation on Instagram and Facebook. If you liked this video, hit the thumbs up button down below to give it a like, and if you're not already subscribed, now's a really great time to change that. While you're at it, if you hit the bell icon, you'll start to get notifications when I release new videos each week, so you don't miss out. Lastly, if you like what I'm doing here and want to support the channel, there's a Buy Me a Coffee link in the video description below. Any contribution you make through Buy Me a Coffee does get put towards making more and hopefully better content for you to enjoy. Don't forget to check out my website, hivemindautomation.com.au. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Stu from HiveMind Automation, and I'm looking forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.